Hi, I am Cat. I make cool games and zines, and today we're going to be talking about the Electromander. That's actually what I got drawing in the background. I'm working on what ends up being this piece, and so I just want to take a second and talk about Electromanders are the main power source for people in the tunnels that have super big societies. Basically, just think they take some jumper cables and connect it to it and power their entire cities. These give off a butt ton of electricity just naturally, and the cool thing is you can draw it from the creature without actually hurting it. They like to produce it, and it's not something that you can pull from it that's going to hurt it. Electromanders tend to be really temperate creatures. They're not really trying to start crap. However, when they're bored, much like dolphins, they will abuse some local creatures. In the final image that I've made for it, they're running and chasing a flying licker, and the crazy thing is they'll just shock them, and then when they fall on the ground, they'll just wait for them to get back up, and they'll fly off, and then when they're like, oh, okay, they're fine, and then they'll chase them again and zap them again, and it's just because they're bored. They don't actually have any malicious intent behind it, and I think it makes them cuter and kind of stupid, honestly. They are highly illegal to shoot or kill, given the fact that they're the main power source for a lot of the communities underground. They're highly revered, and you're gonna face jail time if people find out about it. It's also just bad luck. Like if you kill one, it's basically guaranteed a curse. At least that's what the locals believe. They get pretty big. The biggest ever recorded Electromander was 40 feet long and about 8 feet high. These things get huge and they live a very long time. They're covered in kind of this thin slime, which when interacting with the electric signals from their brain will increase the current and take a relatively small zap and turn into a huge burst of energy. Their main food that they prefer is the shock shrooms and other vegetables. They don't really eat meat, but they can, mostly like fish and stuff like that. They try to find areas that have some water in it that is just naturally there. However, they are fine with any place that has some moss or other fauna that they can munch on. Plus, they see it as if this can grow here, I can probably be fine. But can't really do much. Like the flying lickers, it they could jump them in theory, but it's one of those things that so much of them have just trauma of getting chased around and shocked that they're really not going to try to do anything. They tend to be able to be around long ears in a like I'm not going to screw with you, you're not going to screw with me according to long ears, but these Electromanders, they just are like, ah, well, dude, that's just another thing that if it tries to screw with me, I'll shock it. So I'm not really scared about it. So they don't really have any natural predators. There is some things that I have not made yet that might actually attack them, but for the average tunnel monster, nothing's really touching them. Alright, let's get on to the design. So I originally had wrote it in Electromancer. This essentially is one of those things that I wrote in and I'm now going through and figuring out what the design would be. I ended up kind of getting it down. I had seen this image specifically of a salamander supposedly that had teeth, and so I ended up doing that. Um, I don't know. I thinking about it now, it's one of those things I probably shouldn't have added, but it looks fine. I think it adds to its character, and I just wanted this kind of like big blobby thing. I really liked the little zapper antenna things that I put in there. Those turned out so good. Super happy with it, and I ended up throwing spots because I saw, especially with this one, I really like the spots in these salamanders. I think it just looks super cool, and so I took the time to throw that on there. I was a little hesitant because at first I was wondering if I would actually do it or not, but it looks good. It took a little bit, but overall I think I nailed it. I do need to draw more salamanders because I noticed like mine isn't bad, but it could be more salamander. Although it's fine, a little pudgy guy is just as cool. Big thing that I recommend for you if you are drawing art, but especially if you're doing like a monster manual art, you should have your creature interacting with either adventures or other creatures in that setting. I found this really helps kind of get across size, and it also just makes things a lot more dynamic. Something that I feel is an issue with a lot of the D&D monster pages I'll see, they'll just have the monster, and I get it, but the problem is that's not an like it doesn't sell your beast. And again, then it relies on, oh, I've got to show off the size rating and stuff like that. But the big thing what I want with Ruiners is I kind of want the like natural, and then I'll pull in from some of those influences. Specifically, think like Outlaw Star. Um, the only way I can really think of it is like Asian punk. Not necessarily that we're trying to go straight Asia, but like kind of the after smell, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it turned out really good, and I'm pretty happy with it. So, so I haven't sat down and written out exactly how I wanted stat sheet to go. It'll have super high health, pretty devastating electric attacks, and probably something like with the behavioral chart saying like, hey, this is if it's trying to kill you, and this is if it's just screwing around. I don't want it to be something that's going to necessarily sneak up on you. I want the players to know it's there all the time if it is in the area. Yeah, but it turned out super good. I think, of course, the yellow worked again really nice. Yeah. Okay, so if you're still here, I'd like to talk about my game a little bit. So, Runerise ttrpg is a game where you are basically a mercenary that has a butt ton of debt, so you're taking on very dangerous jobs in an underground world to pay it off. Humanity has fled after the Great Calamity. Some say it was the apocalypse from God. Some say magical girls failed. But either way, the above world is screwed, and we live underground now. And there's tons of crazy creatures. I've had so much fun really making the world of this. And the cool thing is we implement a Mega Man Battle Network style of combat, which is something that I don't feel like I've seen a lot in TTRPGs. I'd really love for you to check it out. The beta is available on Coffee, itch.io, and Gumroad for pay what you want, and we're always trying to make cool stuff, and we are always pumping out stuff. So, anyway, you guys have a great rest of the day, and thank you for watching. Bye.